Hi there, Space Explorers. Welcome back to Galaxy Giggles, where we talk about all things space, whether it's exciting or just plain boring. I'm Charlie, your not-so-average astronaut, and today we've got a space adventure that's going to make you laugh, yawn, and maybe even learn something too. That's right, Charlie. I'm Dotty, your favorite cosmic comedian. You might think space is just stars and rockets, but today we're going to dive in deep into the most thrilling thing in the universe, the boring stuff. I know. Boring isn't what we normally talk about on the channel, but trust me, this is important boring. Space is full of mystery, right? There are planets, moons, stars, and black holes that might eat us if we get too close. But there's also a lot of nothing, like a lot of empty, quiet, kind of lonely nothing. So let's talk about that. First off, let's get this straight, Charlie. What is space, really? Is it just a big dark room, or is it like the universe's biggest playground? Well, space is mostly just empty space, I would imagine, since it's the biggest, quietest room ever. And instead of fun games, there's nothing to do except float. Float in nothing. Yup, Dotty, and here's a fun fact. Space is so big, we don't even know how big it is. It goes on forever. And that means if you were in space with a telescope, you could look in any direction and just see more space. More space. And more space. It's like the ultimate game of hide and seek, when no one is hiding because there's no one there. Yeah, boring, huh? But still cool in a weird way. Because that nothingness is where all the cool stuff is, like stars, planets, and asteroids. Since there's no gravity in space, they all stay in the same place. You know how when you throw a ball in the air and it comes back down? Well, in space, nothing's pulling stuff down. Everything just floats around like it's a giant cosmic dance party. But instead of dancing, everyone's just floating. Speaking of floating, let's talk about the other space big thing, the vacuum. That's right. Space is a vacuum, which means there's no air. No air means no sound, which is why space is super duper quiet. It's like the universe is holding its breath. Really awkward, right? Totally. Imagine being in space, just floating with no air to breathe and no sound to hear. The only thing you can do is look at the stars, which are far away, and maybe get bored? But hey, if you're feeling super adventurous, you could do something weird in space. Want to know what it is, Charlie? Of course I do. You could pop a balloon. But because there's no air, the balloon won't pop on Earth like it does on Earth. It'll float around, slowly deflating because there's no air to make the balloon go boom. So kind of boring, but also amazing if you think about it. Yeah, space is full of weird science like that. It's like the universe gives you a whole lot of nothing and a tiny bit of weird. Okay, now let's talk about stars. Everyone loves stars, right? But did you know that stars are just big balls of gas? Yeah, no magic, no sparkles, just gas. Burning hot gas. Yup, and they burn for millions, sometimes billions of years. So if you ever wish on a star, just know it's been shining for a long time before you even saw it. Like a long time. Imagine if you were a star. You just hang out in the sky doing nothing but glowing. So boring, right? But also kind of awesome? Totally. But if you could hang out on a star, you'd be really hot. Like hotter than a pizza oven. So maybe don't hang out on a star. It's a little bit too warm for comfort. Okay, Dotty. So is there a point to all of this? Is space just a giant empty lonely place? Is it really that boring? I mean, yes, space is kind of boring sometimes. It's not all rockets and alien adventures. But here's the thing, kids. Even when space feels empty or quiet, it's still important. Every little bit boring thing in space helps us understand how everything works. Without the vacuum of space, we wouldn't have astronauts in their fancy spacesuits. And without the stars, we wouldn't have the energy we need to live on Earth. So while space might seem empty, it's full of science that helps us every day. Right, And even when space is quiet and boring, it teaches us a huge lesson. Sometimes the quiet, boring stuff in life is just as important as the exciting stuff. It's like when you need to rest after a big adventure. Sometimes doing nothing helps you get ready for the next big thing. And remember, every time you see a star in the sky, it's like a little reminder that space is still out there waiting for us to figure out all its mysteries, even if it takes a million years. So yeah, space is big, empty, and kind of boring, but also super interesting if you think about it the right way. And sometimes it's the boring stuff that makes the exciting stuff even more amazing. Well, that's all for today, Space Explorers. Thanks for listening to the first official episode on our new podcast called Galaxy Giggles, where we tell stories with a mix of science, sprinkle of fun, and a dash of boring. Stay curious, stay giggly, and remember, even in the boring moments, there's something to learn. Catch you next time on our big adventure, or, Space Snap.